Hello everybody and welcome to another top 5 board gaming video. It's the beginning of February and you know what that means. It's time to talk about 5 more games that I'm probably never going to play, much less own, but I'm really excited to see them and I'm super excited to get them into the community. So these are games that are either remastered, re-released, new releases, recent releases, all that kind of stuff. And of course we're getting into the season of different companies announcing their convention intentions and all sorts of different stuff like that. So we're starting to see some cool stuff come down the pipeline. But that said, as always, I want to hear from you. Put anything and everything in the comments below. Let me know what you're looking forward to and why. But with that, we're going to jump right in with my number 5. At number 5, I've got Eon Trespass Odyssey. You guys know I am a sucker for mythological games, and this one is no exception. This is a Kickstarter that is going to be shipped out, or has started shipping out, and it is huge. It's all about the Titans versus the Primordials in an all versus one massive battle royale type of thing. And the thing is that it's low on the list because first off, it's a Kickstarter, and second off, it is so massive that it is essentially unwieldy. I know that if I would have seen the Kickstarter, I probably would have backed it and would have regretted it later on, but still looks like an amazing game, and maybe I'll get to play it at some point at the very least. But regardless, Eon Trespass Odyssey is my number 5. At number 4, I've got Whiz War. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Whiz War has been around for a very long time, and this is, I believe, the 8th or 9th iteration of the game now. The thing is that this is a game similar to Mage Wars, where the idea is that you have a deck of cards that you're using to battle your opponent and use spells and summons and all that kind of thing. What I find interesting about this new edition is that it takes a more cartoony type feel to it compared to the original ones and some of the older editions. And I really like that. Whiz War has been on my wish list for a very long time as something that I want to get. And it seems like a rather drastic departure, and I'm kind of wondering why that is. So that's why it's on the list, but it's also why it's lower on the list, because it's been around for so long. And so still, I'm curious about it and wondering what's going to happen. Whiz War, my number 4. At number 3, I've got the Lord of the Rings Adventure Book. That's right, we've got another Lord of the Rings game, which is why this is middle of the road. This is an IP that has kind of been beaten to death when it comes to board games, card games, and all sorts of other stuff like that. But this does have a unique kind of storytelling aspect to it. Because of the adventure book style, this acts more like a scenario-driven game where you are playing a piece of the story one after the other, after the other, so it's like you're actually going through the novels. And so I personally think it's a really cool idea. I hope that they're able to pull it off. I believe that the new one that's coming out is kind of a continuation of a couple others that were recently released as well. But I like the twist on the sort of standard Lord of the Rings thing where you have the hobbits, they're going to Mount Doom, you have the Asgardians, they're trying to kill everybody. You have the Fellowship, they're trying to kill the Asgardians and save the hobbits. Whereas in this case, you have something that's a little bit more of the actual story. I really appreciate that. I really like it. But again, beaten to death, kind of tough to seriously get behind. Still, Lord of the Rings, the Adventure Book, is my number 3. At number 2, I've got Zoo Vadis, or Vadis. I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but suffice to say, this is a game that comes to us from Reiner Knizia and is a spiritual successor to one of his older games that is based heavily in political intrigue. Now, I mentioned before, I'm a serious sucker for Greek mythology, but I am arguably a bigger sucker for negotiation and political strife at the table. The idea of this game is also really fascinating. It's a a really unique theme in that you are at a zoo and all of the animals are vying for control of the zoo. Who's actually going to be in charge? So instead of building a nice zoo like Barren Park, or, you know, making sure that all the animals are happy in Cascadia, or all of the plants are happy in photosynthesis, in this one you're playing as the animals, and it is King of the Hill with heavy political implications. So I find the theme fascinating. I love the mechanics. The designer is great. Obviously, he's been around for decades and made some of the most amazing games that are out there. And on top of that, it has built on the previous sort of iteration of this vanish or vanish thing, where now it plays better with fewer people, and you also have an expanded board that allows you to play with even more people than before. So all in all, seems really exciting, sounds really cool. Zoo Vanish or Vanish is my number 2. At number 1, I've got Lost Species. Now, I'm a biologist, I'm a scientist. I love the idea of finding these supposedly extinct species, or species that were previously unknown, or whatever it happens to be. But I kind of draw the line at the whole cryptozoology thing, where we have things like cryptid and stuff, although it seems like a great game. The thing about Lost Species is that this is a spiritual successor to the Search for Planet X. And so you know what that means? Logical deduction. This entire video is essentially about me being a sucker for particular mechanics, and logical deduction will always take the cake, in addition to the idea of we've got these species that may or may not still exist, and we have to use deduction and clues to figure out where and whether they are still around. I am absolutely stoked about this game. I really want to get it because I absolutely adored the Search for Planet X, and I really hope that they can knock it out of the park with this one as well, especially with the biology theme and all that kind of stuff. So, without a doubt, Lost Species is my number 1. Well, everybody, that's going to be it for me. I hope that you enjoyed this February 2023 edition of games that I'm really looking forward to, but will probably never get to play, much less own. As you all know, as everybody knows, there are a lot of games out there that have been announced or hinted at, or whatever it happens to be, and I can barely scratch the surface, especially with Kickstarter going on like mad all the time and all of this other kind of stuff. Not to mention convention season coming up with some of the stuff already having been announced. There is a plethora of games out there that I can't even begin to touch. So I want to hear from you. What are some things that you're particularly looking forward to that you've heard about recently? Let me know anything and everything in the comments below, because you know I love to hear it all. And on that note, if you haven't done so already, please take a look at my various social media pages where you can interact with myself and my channel in a bunch of fun ways. But with that, thank you so much again for watching the video. Hope that you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.